Chapter 8, The Afterlife and Beyond, the final chapter of this legend.
Get ready to embark on an epic expedition through my imagination as I explore the Instagram-acclaimed Leweka Region within 3 new ongoing series here on my YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to keep up with these adventures, hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course leave a comment down below to let me know what you think and what Pokemon you decide to capture on your adventures. And of course, please make sure to support all of the talented artists I commissioned and worked intimately with to bring all of my ideas to life, as I wouldn't be able to take you on all these exciting adventures through my imagination without their help. As well as all of the amazing voice actors featured in this series, so I'd like to give you the opportunity to get to know them as I ask them a new question relating to Leewicka. So please make sure to stay till the end of the video to check that out.
My dear niece and nephew, young Anaya and Chidi, please have a seat. Your Uncle Obasi would like to tell you a tale. It won't be long before you two are old enough to succeed your father as champion of the Leweka region. A role that, unlike other regions, comes with great responsibility as ruler of Leewicka's citizens. As king or queen, it'll be up to you to look after both the fine people and all the miraculous Pokemon that call Leewicka home. And as you know, Leewicka is by far the largest of Pokemon regions.
This is because Leewicka is made up of what used to be 6 neighboring Pokemon regions.
Show off.
To the south, you have the Karoo and the Florofimbos of the Ukuvu region, painting the Cape's coast. Upward, you have the vast jungle and swamps of the Takati region. To the west, you have the sprawling savannas and wastelands of the Awago region. To the north, you have the ancient secrets hidden beneath the arid deserts of the Akam region. To the east, you have the Nakeup region's mountainous tundra surrounding Mount Milinjaro. And last but not least, off the east coast, you have a miraculous island full of rainforest and wetlands, known as the Wikwa region. This is the legend of how the kingdom of Leewicka was formed. To the unification of these 6 ancient regions thanks to our brave ancestors.
You mean the first Baobab?
Don't forget champion.
That is correct, young ones. This is also the story of how the Baobab Bloodline, our noble family, came into power. Alright children, so we are nearing the end of this story. So our ancestor, after being reunited with the rest of their tribe's people and the other friends they acquired throughout their journey, all of much were thrilled to see them make it in one piece and ready to discuss the unification of the 6 kingdoms. But this ceremony was cut short as the Divine Pokémon both arrived in Husa village, cornering everyone as they began to wreak havoc, laughing at the people's plan to rebel against them, saying even together they stood no chance against their might. They were superior species. Nandi and the other tribe leaders tried to get everyone to safety, but Satera managed to spot young Amunet. Realizing she was a traitor to the Akam tribe, he viciously chased after her as Hilasanyu offered her refuge in her hut, which was no match for Satera, who tore through it with ease, cornering them ready to finish them both off with one foul swipe. But just as he did, our ancestor dove in front of Sanyu to protect her, ending their life.
Wait, what? Uncle Obasi, you can't leave us hanging like this. Our ancestor couldn't have died. Otherwise, they'd never gone on to unite the 6 kingdoms as Leewicka's first champion.
Why, of course, but you can't blame me for having a little fun there.
It was quite the cliffhanger. So how did our ancestor manage to escape death?
I'm assuming they made some sort of deal with Osai River, much like young Amunet did.
A fine guess indeed, but be patient, young ones. Everything will be explained shortly. First, our ancestor woke up in the afterlife, also known as the Afterlife Isles, a series of ominous islands engulfed in a sea of souls, each housing a legendary Pokemon our ancestor had to defeat in order to pass Osai River's trials before their window of time was up and their souls were lost forever.
Easy peasy. So what did they have to do exactly?
Well, not only were they racing against the clock hoping to plead their case to Osai River and be reborn, but their friends were all kidnapped by the Divine Pokémon and held prisoner.
They already managed to free their friends before. They can do it again.
However, this time most of their strongest allies were locked up in the dusty dungeons of the Akam region, and the rest of their allies were far out of reach, unaware of the dire circumstances they were up against. The various tribe members felt defeated, as all hope seemed lost, especially after watching our ancestor perish at the hands of one of the divine Pokémon. Nandi was baffled and felt hopeless, as it contradicted her visions of the victory and the unification of the Six Kingdoms. But no one was as distraught as Hela Sanyu, grieving her friend who fell right before her very eyes. She even felt guilty, as he sacrificed himself to save her after all. However, Ganiro comforted Sanyu, as he was able to relate to her grief after his dear friend and tribe leader Diallo's untimely demise at the hands of the divine Pokémon. Luckily, when our ancestor, the first Baobab, arrived in the afterlife, they were created by a young Amunet, who told them of Osai River's trial and how their time was running out. She directed them to the first island, which was made up of large hills and valleys, a spooky forest, and a swamp made of the darkest souls, bubbling with their collected animosity trapped within the afterlife.
What type of Pokémon could be caught here?
It's funny you ask. But while our ancestor encountered a wide variety of Pokémon of all types in the Afterlife Isles, especially that of the ghost type, our ancestor couldn't actually capture any of them while here in this realm. But they did have to fend a lot of them off.
But how? Their Pokémon were still alive after all, weren't they?
What a fine point, young Anaya. The type of critical thinking I'd expect from a future champion. Upon arriving in the Afterlife, Osai River offered our ancestors some aid by temporarily lending them the soul of their Pokémon to help them through these trials. Unfortunately, this favor came at a cost, though as if they were to fail to complete the trials, the souls of their Pokémon companions would also be forever trapped within the afterlife.
Oh no, that's terrifying.
Chill out, sis. It's not like we don't already know how this is all going to go.
True, but imagine if things turned out differently for our ancestor and their poor Pokémon. I'm glad they weren't alone though.
Far from it. As I said before, our ancestor had plenty of powerful Pokémon found all throughout Leewicka to contend with, including Pokémon evolved through the power of the Pokémon rebirth or already in their reincarnated rebirth form.
Oh wow, how fascinating! But I can't say I'm surprised, as Osai River did create the rebirth phenomenon after all, so it only makes sense he'd have an army of rebirth Pokémon working for it.
This Osai River is easily my favorite of the divine Pokémon.
You mustn't be fooled. While Osai River may appear to be good from our perspective, it was still as manipulative as the other two divine Pokémon, only working within its best interests. And as you've already seen, its favor already came at a grave cost. While on the first island, our ancestor met the first of Osai River's loyal servants, the three legendary phantom fish, ghost-type Pokémon residing within the Afterlife Isles, each ruling over its one island and watching over the souls trapped there. This wretched island and the dark souls within its sinister swamps was home to the first of the phantom fish, Talapka, the duality Pokémon, a ghost and dark tribe Pokémon. Created from a collection of dark souls, this phantom sends chills down the spines of those who come into contact with it, although very few have ever seen it, as it resides in the afterlife. Our ancestor and their Pokémon battled this specter of a Pokémon within the spooky swamps of this island, as it would often evade into its murky waters made up of the malevolent spirits trapped within, only emerging from the shadows to strike, using literal shadows to grasp our ancestor and try to drag them into the marsh of souls. Luckily, our ancestor, with the help of their ghost tribe wand, lent to them by young Amunet, were able to weaken this legendary Pokémon and trigger a battle so their loyal Pokémon companions was able to finish it off.
Did they capture it?
Were you not listening? Our ancestor couldn't catch any Pokémon while in this realm.
Oh, yeah. What a shame.
Fear not. After successfully completing their trials and escaping this realm, our ancestor was able to encounter the three phantom fish in the wild. Although, it was no easy task, as they had to hunt down throughout the Six Kingdoms and defeat them in battle once more.
Well, that sounds quite frustrating, but there are legendary Pokémon after all, so I wouldn't expect it to be easy.
After defeating this Pokémon, our ancestor was greeted by Sifu, who had apparently sunken and lost his life out at sea.
What a shame! He helped our ancestor escape after all.
After betraying them and putting them in that situation in the first place?
Well, regardless, our ancestor sought to repay the favor and have him escape alongside them if he was able to help them escape. Unfortunately, his Pokemon also perishes with him out at sea, so he was able to call upon them, including Veshok, to help our ancestor sail across the vast sea of souls to the other Afterlife Isles. Of course, they encountered the restless souls of many treacherous Pokemon they were forced to battle along the way. Although, they finally arrived on the second island, which is said to comprise of ghostly white beaches with various lagoons, and a salt lake comprised of the souls still being judged as their actions on Earth weren't as black and white. Along this salt lake, our ancestor battled the next legendary phantom fish, Tilapa, the personality Pokemon, a ghost and flying tribe member. A phantom made up of a collection of distinct souls within the afterlife. It embodies the very essence of each individual soul. Our ancestor could move across portions of this salty lake of souls as the salt would condense in certain areas. But because of this, they had to constantly be on the move. Otherwise, they slowly sink to their demise, suffering the same fate as the souls trapped in the lake. This Pokemon would fly high above the lake, only landing for short periods of time, allowing for our ancestor to use their tribe wand to weaken it long enough to engage in a Pokemon battle. It would also use its massive wings to create giant gusts of wind, making it even harder for our ancestor to safely traverse the constantly changing battlefield. After defeating this legendary Pokemon, our ancestor was encountered by Amunet, who said this is where her soul was trapped until being judged by Osai River, and personally picked to help serve it in return for her lifelong allegiance after being given a second chance at life. She told our ancestor she hoped Osai River would offer them a similar offer, as she said the fact Osai River even granted them these trails spoke volumes, as it didn't often extend these kind of death-defying privileges to just anyone. Although Osai River, watching carefully from its throne, had already seen everything our ancestor was capable of, and how they not only defeated the 6 monarch Pokemon and were able to successfully journey to all the 6 kingdoms and unite their tribes, but more importantly, how they defied the other 2 divine Pokemon, as Osai River loathed its peers, as it knew how power-thirsty they were and felt it couldn't trust them. Tactician Horasky ruling over the sky, the warrior Cetera ruling over the land, and Osai River ruling over the sea. However, Osai River connected the afterlife to the sea and decided to reside there and watch from afar to avoid being caught in the crosshairs of the other 2 divine Pokemon's plans.
Sounds like a smart plan, given we already knew the other 2 divine Pokemon were already at odds.
Anyways, our ancestor ventured to the next isle to challenge their 3rd phantom fish.
What was this island with the afterlife like?
Who cares? I want to hear about the battle.
I cared. The world doesn't revolve around you, Cheaty.
Not yet, it doesn't. Just wait until I'm champion. I'll start ruling over Leewicka, then the world.
So you'd be a tyrant? Just what the people need. You'd be no better than the divine Pokemon.
Young Chitty, I sure hope you're joking, as it's the last thing Leewicka or the world needs.
Okay, whatever. Just get on with the story already before Baba gets here.
Anaya, to answer your question, this island was made up of the purest of souls, as they formed calming hot springs and geysers that with every burst would temporarily transport those souls back to our realm, where they would act as guardian spirits.
How marvelous! So, I'm assuming this legendary Pokemon was just as wholesome?
I mean, you're not wrong, but they still had to battle in order to complete Osai River's trial. This legendary Pokemon, Talapak, was the 3rd and final of the 3 phantom fish, a ghost and fairy tribe known as the Purity Pokemon. After finding peace within the afterlife, transcended souls merged together to form this angelic phantom which brings serenity to those around it. Talapak would gracefully soar across the geysers of souls, unleashing miraculous light attacks onto the battlefield for our ancestor to avoid, in addition to the geysers of purified souls that would periodically erupt, damaging them. However, using their ghost tribe wand, they were able to weaken and defeat it in battle. Afterwards, they were greeted by a familiar face, former tribe leader Diallo of the Iwago tribe, who had recently fallen at the hands of Cetera, risking his life to save his fellow tribe members, and good friend Ganiru, in attempt to make up for his sins after having been forced to work alongside the divine Pokemon in order to protect his people. Tilapak saw this act of selflessness and felt Diablo's soul, despite his lapse of judgment, was pure. Our ancestor, determined to save everyone, tried to convince Diablo it wasn't his time and he too deserved a second chance at life, offering him to join them in Sifu and complete the trials. Hesitant at first, Diablo felt Ganero and the rest of his people, or those he hurt, may never forgive him, was finally convinced after hearing the grave danger everyone was in.
Now that's the spirit. I'd expect nothing less from a warrior like him. Although, like Sifu, they did kind of do our ancestor dirty.
I'm sure if Tilapak deemed Diallo's soul to be pure, it knew very well what it was doing. Plus, our ancestor did need all the help they could get after being reborn if they planned to take on the Divine Pokémon and save their friends.
You are not wrong.
So, after defeating the 3 phantom fish, was our ancestor and the others returned back to the land of the living?
Not quite. Our ancestor first had to find and defeat the ruler of the afterlife, the Divine Pokémon, Osai River itself. Osai River was found on the 4th island, which was home to a fierce desert of black sands with a large volcano in the center of it, with the strongest of the souls emerging from its fiery crater and burning everything they came into contact with. After making it through the scorching desert of souls, our ancestor was able to make it inside this pyramid and battle Osai River atop its crater. Osai River, ruler of the afterlife. Osai River was supposed to rule over the sea and made itself a new kingdom in the afterlife, so from here, Osai River was able to look after the seas. Although Osai River, being a divine Pokémon, acted as a Pokémon trainer commanding all 3 of its royal servants, the serpent fish, so our ancestor had to once again defeat all 3 in battle before battling Osai River itself in this crater, having to avoid being thrown in or the blazing souls that would erupt along with Osai River's lethal attacks as it would swing through its waters, emerging to create waves of souls to crash down onto the battlefield, and other powerful fluid attacks that would even drain the life force of our ancestor and their Pokemon, restoring Osai Rivers. So, weakening it even with the Ghost Tribe wand was no easy feat, as it was quite the powerhouse, and its signature ability, Purgatory, prevented our ancestor from reviving their Pokemon, even with the rebirth phenomena, restricting them from using arcane power of rebirth it birthed against it.
No way! That's no fair! How did our ancestor manage to defeat a divine Pokemon without Pokemon rebirth?
Well, I'm sure it wasn't easy, especially as Osai River itself was able to reborn after fainting, resurrected in its own powerful rebirth form. As it was reincarnated with a new elongate serpentish body, it would use to swim through the souls of the volcano, but parts of its body would still be visible, arching out of the pool of souls, allowing our ancestor to strike with the Ghost Tribe wand, eventually able to provoke it to the surface for a Pokemon battle and finish it off. Much to Osai River's surprise, as it was so pleased with the strength they demonstrated, it granted our ancestor, as well as all of their Pokemon, Sifu and Diallo, a second chance at life, returning them to the realm of the living through the waters within its chambers, so they awakened from its waters good as new within the chambers of Osai River's Trinute Pyramid.
How convenient! As they would place them all right within the Akem region, where their friends were being held hostage by the other 2 divine Pokémon, saving them a trip.
What a fine observation, Anaya. You're absolutely right. I'm sure given everything at stake, they saved them all a great deal of time. From there, young Amunet was able to guide them through the secret tunnels of the hidden tombs, found within Osai River's pyramid, giving them a shortcut to the dungeon area where they free their friends. But not without first battling their divine Pokemon's human servants, Magi and Nefret. In a tag battle, both also had powerful rebirth forms, as our ancestor fought alongside tribe leader Diallo, while Sifu snuck around them, freeing everyone.
Yay! Now our ancestor obviously won, so now that all of their friends were freed, I'm assuming together they were able to take down the other 2 divine Pokemon?
Why, that's pretty much exactly what they did. But first they had to find a secret chamber dedicated to the mythical Pokemon Elemage, an ancient sorcerer with mastery over the elements and all Pokemon tribes. Scared of its own arcane power, it has devoted its long life over the centuries to faithfully serving trainers it deems worthy with its signature move, reflecting the tribe of the wand it wielded, in addition to sealing its enemies in battle with its spellbinding powers. Our ancestor pleaded to this Pokemon and managed to recruit it and its masterful powers over the elements to their side.
Let me guess. After defeating it in battle?
Actually, not yet. They wouldn't actually battle Elemage until fully completing their journey. At this point, Elemage was summoned as an ally, a great one at that. Elemage was able to command all 18 tribe wands with the utmost mastery, changing forms and types depending on the wand it wielded in battle. However, after being awakened by the power of all the 18 tribe wands, Elemage was holding a powerful new tribe wand, known as the Master Wand, holding the immense power of all 18 tribes and their given elements within it.
Wow! With a Pokemon like this at their disposal, I'm sure our ancestor was able to make quick work of the Divine Pokémon.
Not quite, but Elemage was a great asset in this fight for humanity, and I'm positive our ancestor and the Six Kingdoms would have never succeeded without its help. But the power of Pokemon Rebirth was another deciding factor in their fate, as they were able to revive their fallen starter Pokemon and reincarnate them into a powerful new Rebirth form. Rebirth Villaboom being a member of the Grass and Psychic tribes, having been reborn overgrown with plant life, is able to use its spiritual powers to further root itself in nature, unleashing a series of powerful grass and psychic type attacks. Rebirth Incineroar, a respected member of the fire and fighting tribes, is reborn more ferocious than ever, and it's engulfed in scorching hot flames that are said to incinerate evil. Its formidable fire and fighting type attacks are strong enough to defeat the strongest of Pokemon. Rebirth Feraligatr, still a feared member of the Water and Dark tribes, is reborn mutated with extra limbs. It uses along its razor-sharp teeth to ravage its enemies. And of course, its Water and Dark type attacks are more terrifying than ever as well.
Whoa! They're all so awesome!
You can say that again.
So using their reborn starter Pokemon and Elemage's Master Wand, our ancestor battled both Horaskai and Cetera within the Alchem region's desert in a tag battle, each using a team of legendary Pokemon. Horaskai commanding the 3 legendary birds, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, and Cetera's commanding the 3 legendary beasts, Raikou, Entei, and Suicune, before taking on the 2 divine Pokemon themselves. Horaskai was a brilliant tactician and extremely poised and patient, always 2 steps ahead. With its signature ability, Restored Order, Horaskai even had its own signature move. Cetera, who was sporadic, rash, and usually relied on fear or force to get their way. Cetera was a force to be reckoned with, as its signature ability, Invoked Chaos, did exactly that. It even has a signature attack.
Impressive. You have yet again managed to escape, but I'm afraid playtime is over. Kneel before us or face our wrath.
How is this possible? 2 of these mortals have perished at my own hands.
Osiris must have meddled with these mortal souls, at a feeble attempt to prevent us from acquiring any more power, I am sure.
Pathetic. I'll handle him myself, after finally eliminating these pests once and for all and conquering their kingdoms.
They would both summon raging sandstorms within the desert to blind and harm our ancestor.
So they battle both the divine Pokemon at once?
I'm surprised the Divine Pokémon were able to put their differences aside long enough to work together.
To be honest, I think our ancestor was able to use the discourse between the 2 against them in this fight.
How insightful! That's exactly what I would have done.
But these 2 certainly pushed our ancestor and everyone to their limits, as Horaskai would fly throughout the battlefield far out of reach for long periods of time, while Cetera would jump around creating massive earthquakes with each of its landings, attacking in shifts, Horaskai using long-range attacks with a powerful gust of wind, and Cetera would focus on close combat attacks using its razor-sharp claws, or smashing large boulders down onto the battlefield. Both divine Pokemon put up valiant fights that took our ancestor and all of their allies to defeat, as even after defeating them both in battle by using their pride to pit them against one another, both Horaskai and Cetera were reborn in their own powerful rebirth forms, changing the course of the battle as their attacks were even more swift and powerful than before. making them harder to connect with and evade as they both were more savage in these new beast-like forms. However, after finally managing to weaken them even further, just as it looked like our ancestor and their friends were about to suffer a terrible defeat to the Divine Pokémon, it was Elemage who would swoop in to reclaim its Master Wand and deal the finishing blow, helping Osai River to seal them away within their respective tombs hidden deep within the desert of the Arkham region, where they said to still be trapped to this day.
What if your colleagues really did find their tombs? If so, I hope they don't end up getting out, given everything we know about them.
Well, we discussed the possibility that we humans may have been wrong all along. Nothing is ever as black and white as it seems. Anyways, our ancestor and all of their friends were in shock. They succeeded. The war against the Divine Pokémon was finally over. They were free at last.
Yay!
And it was all thanks to our ancestor for not only uniting them all, but having bravely defeated the monarchs and the Divine Pokémon against all odds. So shortly afterwards, they went into the ancient city of Ishtar to let all of the people of Arkham know they were free at last from the Divine's Pokémon rule. The people all cheered, and shortly afterwards, everyone returned to Husa village to finish our ancestors' ceremonial trial, crowning them as champion. And by everyone, I mean just everyone from all 6 kingdoms wanted to be there for this historic moment. Hila Sanyu, thrilled to see our ancestor, was okay and happy to welcome them into this new role. Ganero, teary-eyed to see his leader Diallo reborn, welcoming him with a big hug and finally telling him he forgave him for his previous mistakes. Nala and Ganero got into a spat as they'd often fight like brother and sister, but she went as far as to compliment him, saying how amazing it has been seeing him mature over such a short period of time. Afterward, the various tribe members all took a chance to actually get to know one another, introducing some of their region's unique customs and traditions. Professor Acacia and his friend Juma initiating a joyous musical festival with a series of percussion drums, while young Amunet and Tumo joyfully danced around with their Pokemon, and Hilasanyu and Tiana become BFFs, as you'd say, Anaya.
Yay!
The various tribe leaders such as Nandi and Jabari from the Nekab region seemed to really hit it off as they discussed their roles and responsibilities over their respective tribes. And Amunet and the people of Arkham engaging with the other tribes without fear of the Divine Pokemon's wrath, hopeful for the future. Even Sifu and his pirate crew managed to make it. Nandi oversaw this wondrous ceremony, telling everyone thanks to her vision of the future she was certain our ancestor would accomplish the impossible and fulfill their destiny, having never lost faith.
How sweet! I can only imagine how wondrous this day must have been.
Indeed, this beautiful ceremony inspired the same one you two will one day participate in shortly after you receive your starter Pokemon and set out on your journeys for the throne. As our ancestor was finally crowned the first champion of Leewicka, a title they took on with great pride and respect, governing all 6 kingdoms with dignity and compassion, just as I hope one of you two will one day. And that, my dear children, was the story of the first Baobab. Very nice, brother. You tell quite a tale.
Baba!
Ah, I missed you. Uncle Obasi just told us the most amazing story.
So I heard. Nice to see you, brother. Hello, brother.
Wait, that's it? Isn't there more to the story?
It isn't. Why don't you finish the story, brother? Are you sure? You look tired. I wouldn't want to keep you. Of course. There isn't much left. Why don't you tell the children what else happened? Very well then, if you insist. It's more of an epilogue to our ancestors' journey, if anything. After becoming champion, our ancestor made another journey through the 6 kingdoms to better acquaint themselves with all of their citizens, both people and Pokemon alike. They were finally able to capture the other 2 starter Pokemon from this time, unlock new areas such as the caves of Victory Road, found right next to the Husa village. We'll search for and capture the 3 legendary phantom fish as we discussed all the legendary birds and beasts firmly used by the Divine Pokémon, including a 4th legendary bird, grass type, the Quattro, and 4th beast, poison type, Dokugin. Found prowling within the treetops of the jungle, the only thing more fearsome than this beast's bite is its poisonous flowers they grow on its body and are said to be lethal. One petal is rumored to be capable of immobilizing a Warlord. Covered in poisonous plant life that it would use to poison our ancestor and their Pokemon in battle, attacking with potent poison-type moves like Poison Fang or Cross Poison. In addition to other legendary Pokemon they'd encounter, such as the Abomination Trio, 3 monstrous tribal beasts each with immense power our ancestor had to contend with and defeat in battle before capturing. Steel-fighting Bolgash within that stone forest of the Leweka Region, using its razor-sharp head to chop down trees or demolish the stone structures of the area, making for high-stakes battle. Rock Dark Tribe Necraba along Tulero Cliffs, as it would camouflage into the cliffs and emerge using shadows to strike down our ancestor. And lastly, Poison Flying Tribe Quagamato within Spoko Swamp, soaring through the sky, using its terrifying talons to try to drag our ancestor into the toxic bog waters.
Those Pokemon are quite funny looking indeed, but sound really powerful.
That they were. There was even said to be a 4th beast at this time that has mysteriously seemed to vanish, or at least hasn't been spotted since. A titanic ground dragon Pokemon with a long serpent-like trunk that it would use to tunnel through the ground and grasp hold of our ancestor or large boulders. Our ancestor apparently even came into contact with some mythical Pokemon they were able to battle and capture as well, including the mythical Elemage, after finally completing their Pokedex. They'd be able to battle Elemage wielding its Master Wand and execute powerful elemental attacks that would engulf the battlefield. Tornadoes, earthquake, thunderbolts, fiery explosions, tidal waves, giant thorns, you name it. Various attacks representing the 18 tribes, all of which executed with great precision. Thanks to its Master Wand, all of its moves were super effective, including its signature attack, Spellbinder, that would temporarily trap our ancestor, leaving them unable to evade any of its follow-up attacks.
So did our ancestor manage to capture Elemage as well?
Interestingly enough, it appears that way. Remember, it was said to only serve the purest of hearts, so that alone says a lot about our ancestor's character. Anyways, this is a legend of Elemage and the first Baobab. I really hope you two enjoyed it.
We did!
Thanks for letting me finish, brother, and watching your young ones. I enjoy their company. They both have turned out to be fine individuals.
Thank you. Well, we best get going.
Thank you for having us, Uncle Obasi.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
We did! Well, it was all very informative. We love you, Uncle Obasi.
I love you too. Take care.
I thought they'd never leave.
Don't sneak up on me like that. You can't just show up here like this. What if my brother would have seen you?
Fear not, Master Baobab. I would never make such a mistake. Although, seeing you cozy up to the king's children like that does worry me. You were talking of the same bloodline and royal traditions that you seek to overthrow today.
While it brings me no shame to admit that I am indeed proud of my family's heritage and legacy up until recently under my brother's reign of ignorance, as it has gotten me where I am today as a Pokemon professor of this fine kingdom. And if anything, my ancestor was responsible in uniting the 6 kingdoms at a time they couldn't be more divided, just as the Divine Pokémon themselves initially intended. As a scholar, I believe there are 2 sides to every story, and that they were wrong to take the throne from the Divine Pokémon, a being far more superior to them in every way. Pokémon were here long before us and will be here long after. There is no denying they are the superior species, yet we cage them and carry them around in our pockets like pets. Worse, like servants to do our bidding, slowly destroying their habitats with our ignorance and greed.
I couldn't agree more, Master. I regret to inform you that our team's efforts to excavate the tomb of one of the Divine Pokémon was a massive failure. But we won't give up hope, for as you just said yourself, we humans have failed this planet as well as its miraculous Pokemon species.
It's disgraceful, but a part of me has to believe there is still good in humanity. People like you and I who truly want to make the world a better place for all of the living organisms that live in it. So before opening Pandora's box, I have to hold out faith that my niece and nephew, young Anaya or Chidi, may be able to do what my brother has failed to and unite all of us more, people and Pokemon, before it's too late. Which is exactly why I want to instill my beliefs in them while they are still young, as they are my last hope in humanity.
Very well then. While I stand by the ancient scripture and my faith in the glory of the Divine Pokémon, my loyalty in you will never waver. I hope you're right, for the sake of the kingdom of Leewicka.
Only time will tell. But I owe it to my family, to Leewicka, to give them a fair shot at the throne before taking matters into my own hands. I hope you understand.
While I may not entirely agree, I will proudly serve your every command, as I'm certain no one cares for Leewicka more than you, my liege. We will patiently await your orders.
I am grateful to your allegiance, my friend. One way or another, we will save Leewicka and the world.